Hello and welcome back to Orsa Knits. My monthly vlog is going to be a little bit odd today for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm a little bit late with getting this up, and that's because I celebrated my birthday on the 7th of April, so I just really wanted to give myself a few days to relax and enjoy that instead of worrying about editing. And the second reason why my vlog is going to be a little bit odd is because I've just found March to be extremely unproductive. It's more that I start things and I find myself getting distracted, or I find that designs are not working out exactly how I want them to. So you're probably going to see a whole lot of frogging in this video. Which is quite unusual for me because I do tend to just stick things out rather than frog and start again. But I've been really trying to nail the couple of designs that I'm working on at the moment so that I can get them just right. Springtime is truly here in Italy now. March brought with it some really strange weather. We had a few scorching hot days mixed in with some days where it felt like it could snow at any minute. It was quite odd, but I've enjoyed having the chance to wear lots of different knitwear items and really make the most of those last few cold days before the heat really starts to build. Now on to the disaster, which has been my complete lack of finished objects this month. I have started a new design, which I'm quite excited about, and it's for a cabled vest in this gorgeous yarn called Cos from Sannes Garn. I really adore this yarn, and having knitted up the swatch for this vest, I can confirm that it's definitely an Aran weight and not a bulky weight like they have said on some websites. And I think that this knit up into a slightly chunky cabled vest could be really sweet, and it could work also in a cotton for spring if you're looking for something just that little bit more warm weather appropriate. I cast on my first attempt of this vest in quite a large size because I do enjoy quite a lot of positive ease, especially around the hips. I don't like my garments to cling too much at the top and then not fit me properly down here because, yeah, as I have explained before, being a little bit of a pear means that I do have to go off my hip measurement as well as my bust measurement, and that is a frustration that I have with some knitting patterns, I must admit. So I cast on the size medium because I'm about a medium, and I quickly found, once I joined together the underarms and the front and back panel, that it was just going to be way too big. It kind of drowned me, and I don't mind an oversized look in vests, but I didn't want to look like I was sort of wearing a giant woolly tent. So yeah, that has now been frogged, and I've got my fingers crossed that my next version of this will be a much better fit. I am, however, really quite happy with how the cable design is working out. As you can see from my sketch, I plan to have 3 cables sort of going down the front of the vest, and then I want the back to be plain. And the 3 cables are faux cables, so you don't need a cable needle, so it's great for people who have never done any cabling before, just to get that flavour of what it's like to create cables without the stress of adding another weirdly shaped needle into the mix. And on either side of the faux cable, I'm also including some lines of twisted rib just to accentuate that sort of column shape in 3 places, so in the center and then down from either side of the shoulder. I'm really happy with how this design is looking, and I really adore this yarn. It's so fluffy, and the alpaca content I think will make it really comfortable to wear. I want to make mine big enough so that I can wear a good big voluminous cotton shirt underneath, and still feel like it's comfortable and not too restrictive. But yeah, as I mentioned, my previous one was just way too massive. It was, yeah, quite crazy. I don't think I recorded any video of it just because as soon as I put it on, I thought, this is not quite gonna work. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll have some pictures up of how that will be developing. I'm just really hoping that I don't have to frog it again, because I think there is a limit to how many times you can frog a yarn like this. Because it's so fuzzy, the fibers kind of cling to each other, which is something that I really love about the yarn, but it just makes it quite difficult to unravel, and I don't want bits of the yarn looking a little bit bare or a little bit scraggly. Now, my other design that I have also frogged was the idea that I had for a tiny little sort of mini neck shawl. I don't know, would you call it a neckerchief or something? I can't think of the word. But yeah, I had an idea for that and I wanted it to be striped. And as soon as I started working it, I just realized that the point that I was getting was way too sharp. So I needed it to go out a bit more quickly, as opposed to the increases that I was working meant that it was just going to be a very long shawl in order to achieve the width that I wanted, which was not quite the look that I was going for. So that again has gone back to the drawing board, and I think I've figured out how to fix it. Just some different strategically placed increases. So again, fingers crossed that that one works out. I'm pretty confident that it will be okay once I get started again. And the Camello yarn, which I also mentioned in my yarn haul video last time, is a dream to work with. It's so soft and so fuzzy and lovely, and I think that it will be a great springtime accessory because it won't be too hot, it's nice and little, and it just sort of will accent my outfit, kind of similar to a silk scarf would. At least that was my idea for it anyway. Now, there is one thing that I have made a bit more progress on, and that is my mum's pair of Claudia gloves. So again, one of my own designs, and I'm really happy with how these are looking in black. And it's a different yarn combination from the one that I used for my own pair, but I think that it's a gorgeous combination. The Drops alpaca is such a soft yarn and it's really fuzzy. I also like them so much in black. I'll include some images down below for you to get a sense of what they look like next to my grey ones too. I think that they're just really classic and timeless and should be very elegant with a lot of her outfits. So yeah, here's a sneak peek of what they look like. I've done one. Again, very unproductive, easily distracted me this month. But I'm pretty confident that the next one will be finished in the next couple of days. And what I might have to do is set myself a task of just spending a week where I finish off all little bits of projects that I've really got to do. I've been thinking more about it and how I have needed something to work on in between working on my own patterns, because the work involved in creating your own patterns can make the knitting process quite lengthy and very sort of labour intensive for your brain. And I like to knit to unwind, but I also like to knit to create new things that are completely my own. So I just need to strike that balance. And with that in mind, I'll give you a look at my project, which I would say I'm about halfway through now. And this is not one of my own designs. This is a design by a very talented knitter from France. I will pop her name down below. And it is called the Chambray sweater, or just Chambray, I think. Such a stunning design. The reason why I stumbled across this is because I had that sweater quantity of silk mohair in this lovely blue colour, but I wasn't completely happy with the idea of starting another one of my own pieces when I hadn't finished the other two, and I just wanted something as a bit of a palette cleanser to make me feel like I was making progress on something, and something that I could knit and really relax with, that had large sections of stockinette. So yeah, this was the perfect thing for that. It isn't a completely simple pattern. There are, I think, a massive amount of needle sizes I've ever seen in a pattern. So I think it might be 4 different needle sizes needed for each section. So one size for the body and the main stockinette bit, one size for the rib down there, and then a different size for the collar, and then maybe a different size for the rib here. I don't know, it seems like a lot, but looking at her finished piece, you can understand why she's made those choices, because each bit seems to fit her so well, and I'm really hoping I'll be able to recreate that look. Now, of course, the thing that really attracted me to this jumper was the absolutely gorgeous frill, which is around the neckline. This frill is so sweet, and I think it makes this top really romantic. I think that it will be great for now that the weather is still quite cool, but definitely heating up. So maybe in the evening to feel a little bit dressed up in something that I've made myself. And this jumper does feature something that I haven't tried before, but I've been really dying to attempt, and that is crochet edging for the frill. So I'll give you some up-close images of what that looks like. And yeah, you work the jumper in stockinette with lovely raglan details. It's 2 strands of mohair held together, so it's super fuzzy, super soft. And then you finish it off with rib, and then you do a sort of frilly collar, and then finish off that with like really tiny, dainty picots done with a crochet hook. So yeah, wish me luck with that. I've not tried it before, but I'm sort of relying on my mum to really help me out with that. She is a very skilled crocheter, and I reckon she'll be able to give me lots of really useful tips. Before I go, there is one last whip which has been buried at the bottom of my drawer, much to my shame, and it's because I still can't get my hands on that final skein of Cabrito yarn from Manos del Uruguay, and that is my Oslo hat in this really gorgeous shade called Wildflowers. And I have promised myself, I mean, I've done it before, but this time I'm really promising myself to finally get that extra skein and to finally finish this hat. It is probably now going to be a bit too warm for it, but I reckon in the next couple of weeks, if I sit down and I finish that, I'll feel a lot more productive and a little bit happier about the fact that I have a lot of whips sort of hanging about. And talking about having too many whips on the go at once, I reckon that in the next few months, I'm going to really try to go back to just working on one project at a time. So going back to what I used to do at the beginning of my knitting journey, which is just being a monogamous knitter, and just doing one thing at a time, getting that sense of, okay, now that's done and I can move on to something else. I do find that with taking images or sort of taking pictures for Instagram or trying to video my whips, I get very tempted to start lots of different things. So I have this sort of abundance of stuff to show people online. And I don't think that at the moment that's the best headspace for me. So I am going to try and go back to getting one thing done at a time, checking that off my list, and then having a little bit more, I guess, oomph behind my next project. So just taking that positivity of finishing something and then moving forward with it. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the difference between monogamous knitting or knitting lots of things at once. I'm sure that lots of fellow podcasters here on YouTube or beautiful creators over on Instagram struggle with a lot of the same problems, because there is this need to be constantly putting out something, constantly photographing new things, and that's not knitting for me. So I'm going to try and take a step back, but also make sure that I'm really happy with keeping detailed notes of my projects and working on things in a way that really, really works for me. Anyway, I feel like I've been talking for a while, so I'm going to say goodbye to you all now, and thank you all again for watching and subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this little chat about my very unproductive knitting in March, and I hope that I'll have a lot of beautiful finished objects for the month of April, especially with this extra push I've got of my birthday and wanting to start this new year for me in a positive way. So yeah, bye!